one of the ways to relate to someone is to be vulnerable.
Welcome to the Let's Talk Business podcast, a project of the PTEX Group. Gain valuable, actionable ideas from the world's top business leaders to help you take the next step in your business journey. And now, here is your host, Manny Hoffman.
Coming to you from the PTEX headquarters in Brooklyn, New York. This is the podcast for no-nonsense advice to help you learn, grow, and lead. Today, I'm so excited to welcome my dear friend and our guest, Laibel Schwartz. Now, Laibel's journey is nothing short of inspirational. From starting as a wedding photographer to evolving into a pioneer in video content creation, Laibel has navigated the ever-changing landscape of business with underlying authenticity and creativity. In this episode, we're delving into Laibel's extensive experience, gleaning insights from his mastery in storytelling, his emphasis on human connectivity, and his drive to create a sustainable business model. Get ready to explore the essence of what it means to complement your strengths with those around you, the importance of expressing gratitude, and the power of vulnerability and business settings. Now, I have to tell you, I was very nervous for this episode because I knew I have so much to share with Laibel, and Laibel has so much to share with the world. I think you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to learn a lot from this episode. Without further ado, here is my interview with Laibel Schwartz. Laibel, thank you so much for joining me on the Let's Talk Business podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. I don't know if I've ever done this before, but I figure if we're going to start here.
Very cool. So sometimes people say, this guy became rich, this guy got this guy, and so on and so forth. And I could tell you something that this podcast is years in the making. I've been after Laibel for a couple of years. He should come on the show. And for some reason, he said, I post enough stuff. I'm there. I have my different mediums that I'm working on, but now we're finally here and we're going to make the best out of it. And I promise the audience, they'll learn a lot.
I'm excited and it means the world to me. I think I didn't not come because I wasn't interested. I think didn't come because I was nervous, but we always have to step out of our own comfort zone to get to new levels. So.
Okay, so I assume that a majority of people that are listening to the show have heard your name or have seen some of your content, but there is a part of our audience that probably didn't. So for that audience, and even for the rest of it, let's start a little bit of the origin story. Like as far as I know that you started as photography before you got into video as well. Where did this all come from?
So it's funny. I remember doing your portrait right there where you're sitting. You were standing right there. It was a gorgeous image many, many, many years ago. But I originally just wanted to find a profession that I could learn all day and work at night. And that was my dream. And I figured I'd do it for as long as I possibly could. So I figured if I could do something, I tried to figure out what exactly am I going to do. So I thought about, options, and I realized I could do simchas at night. I could photograph simchas at night, learn all day, learn all afternoon, and at night I would have a parnasa. And that was really where it started out. And we learned, and when I got married, my wife's an interior designer. And I realized very quickly that if she was going to go and buy, very expensive couches and then come back to our $40 Craigslist couch, then it wasn't going to work so well with the shalom bias. So I said, let's try something new. Let's try making a business together. I don't know. So she said, Laibel, you're crazy. You have your thing. I have my thing. But we tried it. And it was good for me because there's a lot in our world. We can't really learn photography so well because there's so many sensitivities that we want to keep that a lot of the education outside of our world doesn't really have the ability to learn. So all day I would go to yeshiva. She would learn photography, all the things that she could see. And I'd come home and she'd teach me. And basically that's what happened. And she built this beautiful boutique wedding brand. And we did that for about 8.5 years. And she kicked me out every day to yeshiva. And I would make my sales calls between different classes. And that's how it started. And she built this beautiful wedding brand where we worked together. We were connected. We really did it originally just to learn how to work together, meaning when you're a new couple, how do you, work together? How do you work together in stressful situations? How do you, and nothing's more stressful than a wedding. And that's where really that thing that started to create that vision, that love of kind of like telling someone's story. Then after a bunch of years, she told me, she said, Laibel, I want to be with the kids. I said, that's incredible. So I said, you're the CEO. You're the owner. You're looking for a new venture. So she hired a CEO. And, we took over, but it wasn't fun doing weddings without her anymore. The whole idea was that like we were at weddings together, showing couples what they could do together. And right. And then all of a sudden I was like by myself with the couples. It wasn't as fun. So I had to do something else. So I slowly built the headshot, business over, I don't know, probably 2 years silently, quietly building his skills. And then we came out with this thing called headshots, which I don't think the world really knew much about. And thank God. And from there, we went from headshots quiet and we started hanging out with our CEOs and kind of like hearing their challenges, but I didn't really have solutions for them. I just, took a great headshot. And then one day COVID happened. And a lot of my guys who were going to meetings and doing well, all of a sudden couldn't go to meetings anymore. And they put out videos like, hello, my name is Bam, and I would call them. I say, you sound terrible. What are you doing? Like, you have to figure something solution. And I said, let me come over. It was Avrami Brown. Let me come over for a minute. I'll set up my camera. I'll set up lighting. I don't know. I have a camera and we'll talk. And we did that, and we sat down and we connected. I sent the footage over to Avram Cohen in Eretz Yisrael, who was doing our editing for like our own personal content at the time. And when I delivered it to Avrami Brown, I remember the moment. He said, Laibel, you're sitting on a gold mine. Never move a moment in your life. And that's what we've been doing since.
Wow. We'll get to it. And there's so many questions I want to ask you, and I think our listeners would appreciate. But I do want to go back to the weddings, the times that you did the weddings. And I want to ask you a couple of questions I think that I would be interested in. I know the audience would be as well. Every industry, almost every industry you go into, there is other people already doing it. Very rarely, the new next Facebook or the next AI comes out, and then revolutionize something that never existed. But most of the companies, most of the everyday people are going into industries that other people are, but they're trying to deliver it differently or offer it differently, do something differently. I bet that going in with, especially as a couple into this, you with your wife, you had those questions, you had those conversations. What was it, and how did you feel you deliver differently?
It's a wildly good question because it brings me back to the focus of life and profession. And one of the challenges I'm going to tell you at the end that I had with weddings and that kind of brought us out of it. So I asked my Rosh Hashiva, I said, I have a question. I said, my wife is the most talented woman that ever existed, like ever. You know what I mean? And I knew we could create something the world has never seen before. We had obviously that beautiful balance of a husband and wife, which started off very much, I was on the men's side, she was on the women's side. We started, doing more global type of weddings. And even outside of our world so much, they still appreciated the different dynamic between men and women, right? Like the whole situation. My wife is like this calm, collected, totally like, we're like polar opposites, but work perfectly together. So I asked my Rosh Hashiva, I asked my rabbi, one of my mentors, I said, I know that we could put out the best product that ever existed. And I know I could put out a luxury product. Is it a problem for me to put out a product that I personally wouldn't buy? Meaning we live this like small Carla life still to this day. You know what I mean? Small, yeah. But like I knew what we could do. I said, is there an issue with raising the bar to a level that almost sets a new norm? Or is that a philosophical problem within the community? So he said, Laibel, does it exist already? Meaning, are you making a new level of thing, or there's people there, you want to go there as well? I said, to be honest with you, there are people doing on that level. I'm not creating a new genre. It's just that, I want to know philosophically, is it good for me and good for my wife to go there? Obviously, it's a lot easier. I'll be able to work a lot less. I'll be able to be in kollel more if we can, if we get there. But is it going to be bad for me in terms of like, is it the right move for the community? So Laibel, if there's someone already doing it and you're not making something new, then you have no issue. And that's exactly what we did. And we started off obviously, with that, kind of like couples, experience. But as it grew, it was more about I think, Manny, you'll appreciate this so much. Sometimes creatives get very involved in their creativity. You know what I mean? Like, and they're going to like get into their, like, is this the best picture that existed? And I think what we realized very early on, it's not about the picture. It's about their experience. It's about the couple's experience. This is their moment so it's got nothing to do with the image. Obviously, it's got to be the best image that ever existed. You have to be working on the highest level. There else should be a professional. It's got nothing to do with the image. It's got to do with their experience. What was that? Woo!
That's cool.
I don't know about that. That's cool. I guess we said something good. So anyway, and that's where my world really rocked. And that's what I realized that, if you want to ask what differentiated us, we were young. So we were connected to couples that were also just getting married. So I think now if I was a photographer in weddings, I think I would relate more to the parents. But we were with the kids. This is their simcha. This is their event. We used to do, you understand, Manny, my wife created this experience where we would meet the couple beforehand. We would hear all about who they are, what they're about. We would do an engagement session beforehand to kind of let those nerves kind of flow, build relationship. My wife would bake them on the day of the event. She would bake them homemade scones and wrap them up in a beautiful glass jar with a ribbon on the top with a note, because no one has food the next day. Everyone forgets what's the chassan kala eating the next day. They have these beautiful scones they had for the next morning. When we had them in, we would serve champagne. My wife would make yummy treats. It was all about them, experiencing them. They don't have much to relate about. They just got married. What do they know about each other? The one thing they had to relate about was images of themselves with these unifying experiences. It was a wild experience. And that's really where it all started. So if that's I think that's really what you were asking.
Beautiful. And actually, going back to the point that you mentioned, I think it's worth mentioning and making sure that the audience is really listening to this point, which is that you have two ways of when you come into industry, you could deliver the product better, so a better product, a better mousetrap, or you could deliver the exact same mousetrap, but the experience, as you just mentioned, is so much different that it's not even close. It's not even close. And I think so many times we're so trapped into the better mousetrap, we don't realize that, if these people don't give customer service, or if these people, there's no one to talk to a day before because they're at another wedding and they say, why did you call me? Don't you know that I have another wedding scheduled the day before? And they don't feel that special in the attention to detail. I think sometimes that's everything. That's only what you need to offer in order to shine in the space that you are.
And it's not, and again, it's this concept, exactly like you said. I believe strongly you have to work within your own skill sets. Like, again, I may be, there are better photographers out there than me, potentially, right? But that's not the thing that I have to give. So whatever it is that I have to give, I make a joke all the time that the reason why we win is because I made the game. I'm making the rules of the game. So therefore everyone's playing within my rules. So of course I win because I made the rules, and I made the rules to hack my own system, my strengths and my weaknesses. You know what I mean? So of course we win. And that's what I find with everyone. If you're super, super, super talented at Hootie Greenberg is the most talented person I've ever seen in terms of product, right? He doesn't want to talk to people. I don't want to know you. I don't want to make jokes. I want to turn the product. You know what I mean? Whereas I'm the complete opposite. Give me my human beings and let me play. You know what I mean? You have to find where your strengths are and then go there 1,000,000,000%.
Exactly. Just for our listeners, just a footnote, is we had Hootie on the show a couple of months ago. Also a very, very phenomenal episode. Just speaking about the personality he is, a great story. On product photography. I want to ask you a question. It's a personal question, and feel free to plead the fifth, which is, I think anybody that saw you on a shoot or saw some of the videos know that you're a personality. You can't take it away. You have a way of how you deliver an experience, how to bring the best out of a headshot, a wedding, or a video, and so on and so forth. How much of that comes natural to you, or how much does it come that you have to force yourself to be in that mode?
It's a wildly good question. And I'll tell you a funny story. So again, I told you I live in this very kind of modest, very, kind of experience in my personal life. So I made a little community. My wife and I built a bunch of my friends from Kollel, my Shiva, right outside of Muncie. 20 families, quiet, pleasant, unified, built it to have all the mileage of out of town and all the mileage of in town, right? And we built it over the last 7 years. Most people in my community don't have social media, nothing. One day, someone got a hold of my WhatsApp status. And he said, Laibel, I understand. which one is you? That one or this one? Like I'm quiet by my stender, my kids, like, like no one would, like just, he said, which one's real? I said, you don't understand. They're both real. You know what I mean? This is real in my life. And this is real. The reason why I do this is not because I like going or moving around. Like it's not where what happens is I need people to feel comfortable in their space. So therefore, sometimes I need to go a little bit further in terms of emotional experience so that the person I'm dealing with can feel comfortable. Listen, I'm not as crazy as them. So therefore, I can be myself fully and truly. If that makes any sense. So therefore, my goal when let's say I'm doing these wild projects now, I'm doing a lot in healthcare, and I'll get in front of my mother, I will go there, but I'll get in front of an entire, facility, and I'll tell them my story and that they are heroes and they're angels. And then all of a sudden, they're connected. We're all connected. And then when we connect later, we've already made that bond. So it's really, the funny part is anyone that really knows me, what's our greatest strength is this experience of interviewing. You're doing a great job. The reason why I felt comfortable coming to this podcast is because I know that you had so much experience and so good at what you do. Otherwise, I'm the one that I don't know how to talk. I only know how to listen. So when I sit down to interview someone, I'll have a half-hour interview and I'll say 17 words. But it's that human quiet connection. It needs to be exciting in the beginning in order to break through a shell. And then it's very, very quiet and connected.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you, you mentioned before, and we'll go a little bit to the, now that you started doing the headshots and speaking about video post-COVID, as you mentioned, in terms of how much of your skill that you had in the B2C, which is the business to consumer market, transformed into what you're doing now, or was it everything learning from scratch?
So it's so interesting you say that, because I believe that all human experience, all kind of transactional experience is all exactly the same, except for there's one point why I love the B2B world. Another thing that really started to wear on me, when I was doing weddings, I was taking money directly out of people's pockets. Now, I was giving them an out of this world experience. I was giving them, and again, even as I get older, I start to get it. Like, okay, now I start to see that like maybe that is valuable. But as a young person, I really felt like, we were doing a premium product, and I really felt like people were like writing checks. They were thrilled to do it. But I always felt personally like that's just money. They're pulling money out of people's pockets. And when I started doing B2B, I was like, wait a second, I'm not taking money out of people's pockets. I'm physically putting money in people's pockets. Yeah, and it's not like, and I feel 1,000,000,000% confident in that. So when I talk to people, I'm literally like, when we talk fees, I tell them, no. And I'll go there for a second, but I'll say, our products are a premium experience. You have to prove to me that you can make 10 times what you're charging me over the next 2 years, I'm charging you over the next 2 years, or else we're not starting conversation. You prove that to me. And I literally, that's where the difference. Someone said something wild to me once, and it really hit so hard. They said it's the same sale, and I think about this all the time, to sell one headshot, right? Which I sell for, I've always sold for $350. Than it is to do our projects, our wild projects now. Our projects start at $25,000. Our wild projects, it's the same exact sale, same amount of time, same back and forth, is that right? And a lot of our projects are 6-pronged, you know what I mean? And you're dealing with and it's the same exact project. So originally I was selling a bar mitzvah or an event. Then I was selling weddings. Like, oh, wait a second. It's the same exact situation. Obviously, there's a lot more to a wedding than it is to bar mitzvah, but in terms of the sale, then I went to headshots, and I had to have these conversations over and over. What is a headshot? Right? And then, then we had like branding packages. Then we had days of headshots. Then we had videos, and it's the same exact process. So the thing I like about it is I feel empowered because I'm helping people, but the experience is exactly the same. What are people's needs? And can you give them those things confidently? It's the same exact, I joke about all my guys, like all of my teams that I work with. I say, you guys could really sell anything. You guys could produce it. Look at all of your teams. You know what I mean? If PTEX wanted right now to go in and sell refrigerators, or like, you would do a rock star job. You guys have incredible project managers. You have great, people on the phones. You have salespeople. You guys could do it. It would be, and that's what I believe. I believe strongly that you have to confident about what you do, love it. And, but it's the same experience. Just for me, I feel empowered because I'm helping someone make money as opposed to kind of pulling it, in my mind.
Hey listeners, are you struggling to create beautiful looking proposals? Is it a hassle every time you need to prepare a quote or proposal for your clients? Is collecting signatures still a manual process? Well, it's time to upgrade to PandaDoc. At PTEX, we use PandaDoc for all our proposals, employee documentation, and so much more. It saves us time, keeps everything organized, and our documents look incredibly professional. With customizable templates, real-time collaboration, and e-signatures, PandaDoc turns creating documents into quick and easy steps. Plus, it integrates with so many other tools, streamlining your workflow and boosting productivity. Try PandaDoc today by visiting ptex.co/PandaDoc and start your free trial. Trust me, it's going to be a game changer for your business. That's ptex.co/PANDADOC. So let me ask you a follow-up question. So obviously, the landscape of video marketing is evolving. From what you're seeing, where is it now and where is it going and how important is it for businesses?
So I feel, and I think you'll understand this more than probably anyone, is when you are in a field, sometimes everything starts to look like a client. Like, I have this product, like everybody needs it, right? So then I started to realize on the label side, and we made a new business, which we could talk about, but on the label side, it got very clear to me that the world is changing in a way that you need to get creative to solve some of the problems, right? The same way that people did business forever, the global, web changed things, AI is changing things. This whole experience is changing things. And what I realized was that people believe in people. So therefore, we used to do it in terms of creating genuine images, headshots, portraits, so that you can build trust, right? But today, in certain markets, especially in the markets I'm playing with, you may be making a one-time opportunity pitch to the government. You may be making a one-time opportunity pitch to an investor. You may be making a one-time opportunity pitch to an M&A, So therefore, what is it they're looking for? Everyone on the top level, and I think that you'll get this, when you talk to any CEO, any project, when you got onto a project, when you talk to that owner, CEO, whoever you're playing with, the first 3 seconds, if it's a ja or a nish. You know exactly what's going on. Again, you go through details, but you hear, do they get it? Do they get it? You know what I mean? And that's why, because that's your energy and your experience matching with their energy and their experience. And all of a sudden, as a seasoned business person, it either fits or like really doesn't fit. And sometimes we push through with the ones that don't fit because like right now, cash flow, whatever. And you always at the end tell yourself,
regret it.
Every single time. You know what I'm talking about. So can you now think we've created a product where you can actually feel the neshama, the real soul of a person, a company, an experience, and therefore a real owner will be able to tap into that. If they were to walk into PTEX, if they were to walk into any of my clients, they would feel that naturally. I'm not making up. I've always said I could never be a creative agency because I'm not creative. I call myself an ex-creative. I'm not making up a cool, fun idea, a pitch, a knach. I can't do that. All I can do is show what's really there. If they were really to walk into your deal, that's how they would feel. They were really to walk into your office. I know what it's like to walk into PTEX. It's fun. It's vibe. You walk in and Mati stands up and says, hey, and then this one comes over and say, hey, and there's an energy there, right? So anyone's ever walked in, felt that energy. How do you get them to feel it before they walk in?
So true. You could only do that with video.
Now, again, and you can only do that in a genuine way. It's not like a knach. PTEX doesn't need to do a knach. What you have is so good, you don't need knachs. Knachs will take away from what it is that you guys do.
Exactly. It's even, this is also with branding and marketing, and we have so many times these conversations. We cannot make up things that don't exist. We could bring out the best of what either your vision or what actually exists already.
You know what I call it? I call it with headshots that we don't like. Well, won't like someone will be like, "Will you make my nose like this? Will you make it like this?" So I say, listen, if I could do it with lighting or if I could do it with posing, right? We call it realistically flattering. You know what I mean? I can do a lot with lighting and posing. You know what I mean? But Photoshop, I'm not doing because that's not you. You know what I mean? If it's something that's going to go away naturally, you have a scar, you have a pimple, that goes away. I'll take that away. But that's, I feel the same thing with businesses. Because what's going to happen? You make the most amazing ad. They come in. It's not to say it's not genuine. They leave in a second. And that's where we've been playing on the video space.
Okay, so I want to speak about a couple of topics. One is I've realized that recently you have moved into, you have the Laibel brand and you also have a new brand. And I know we have spoken off record many times about, when it comes to creative space or it comes to any service providers, if you are the professional and you want to scale, what's the mechanism for it? So how much could you share publicly to our audience to understand like how that transition happened? What happens in that transition?
So it's, I think, the age-old question for any of us, right? Like there's a magic that happens in Manny's brain. There's a magic that happens in any of these creative brains. How do you ever systematize that? How do you create PTEX? Meaning there's Manny and then there's PTEX, right? PTEX is just a manifestation of Manny's brain. And the wild part is it even gets better. You know what I mean? Because all of a sudden you have more resources. And I was always challenged, especially because you have this like label experience. You know what I mean? Like, how do you label? That's impossible because I don't know, I was born that way. My mother, I don't know I don't know how to do that. But I knew it had to be possible. And I got frustrated because since we're doing these projects on this level, I say all the time, you prove to me you can make 250 over the next 2 years, do a project with us. It's irresponsible for the majority of the world to invest $25,000 in a video. It's irresponsible. So I was walking, I think in the streets of Brooklyn or whatever, and you see like business after business after business after business. I'm like, they need a video. They need a video. They need a video. They need a video. And I was like, everybody needs a video. And I was like, everyone needs a video. It's true. But like, I can't go there. And also they shouldn't be spending the money. But like, I wish that I had enough time to like, go just like spend a day and do the whole block. And I was like, but I can't. Right. That was the grapple. It's like, how do I take our process, which we made so orderly and systemized and it just works perfectly. And I know it because I live it every day. How do I take that and make a product that's repeatable? So I said, it's not possible, but I'm going to try. So what I did was I actually recorded myself every interview for many projects. So generally there's 2 cameras on the client. So there's 2 cameras on the client, 1 camera on both of us. And they literally recorded every nuance that I did. So therefore, when someone's talking, you can't interrupt them, but you want to show that there's interest. So you lean slightly forward and squint your eyes slightly, or you go something like this. So every time that I did a move, they actually recorded it and made a book on how to label. Then I did the same thing with my shooters. I had my best shooters and they would shoot our projects, and I would have them connected to the camera. And every time they made a move, the reason I'm sweeping this way is because there's something over there that I'm hiding, and there's something over here, and there's something over here I really want to show. The reason I'm sweeping this way is because of this. And they literally talked through every step of their thing for multiple projects for a year. Then I did the same thing with Avram Nassim Cohen, our best editor, our chief editor. And every time he edited, every move, the reason why I chose this word and not this word is because of this. The reason why I chose this music and this not this music is because of this. So every project has got like 8 hours on each side. And we made a university. We made this process. And what we did over a year is we figured out how exactly to label, how to shoot in our way, and how to edit in our way. And we trained people. We trained interviewers in how to interview in our style, how to shoot in our style, how to edit in our style. And we made a company called Everyone Needs a Video.
Everybody needs a video.
Everyone needs a video. And we took Everybody Needs a Video as well because I knew it. Everyone needs a video. And the wild part is, I think now we're 7 months in. I think we've done like 15 projects and it's wildly successful. The process just works. You look at I'll give you the recipe. You work with any company. You want to talk to ownership, leadership, management, boots on the ground, testimonial. Ownership is you have to talk to them about leaders, about history, past, and future, right? They are where this came from and they are where this company is going. Leadership, what is this product bringing to the industry, right? Management, right? You go down, then you go management. How do the products work? Boots on the ground, you want to see every part of it. And then testimonials, how is it affecting their client? It's an easy process. It's half a day of interview, half day of B-roll, and it's been so successful. And for me, it's weird because I see it's obviously not a Laibel product. It's not. But you see it's successful. And I look at it and I look at it sometimes and I say, that's the dream. It's weird to see something that feels like you, looks like you, tastes like you, and I had nothing to do with it.
Very cool. Very cool. So let me ask you a follow-up question to that. So you mentioned about systems and processes, and I think this is something our listeners should pay attention to, because a lot of times you want a different result in your business, but you're not willing to put in the effort to systemize it or record it, as you mentioned before, and figuring out what has those steps look like in order to get to a stage where you could offer the product for cheaper and for less money and so on and so forth. So I think that's an important thing. I guess my question to you is, how do you currently maintain both sides of the business?
I don't. So I have an active partner who's running it, and we hired someone who's running it full time. So therefore, I created the process. David Bonanu, who's been our business guide since forever, helped build out the system side, and we're partners in it. So therefore, I go to a Friday meeting. Anything creative, meaning if we have creative questions about how to deal with certain things, or if we have client questions on how to deal with certain things. So therefore, I have that experience. But we built it, took on a partner, and it's running completely on its own.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of, let's say, people reaching out to you as far as video productions or video projects, are you now deciding that based on the return they're going to be getting, they need a Laibel video?
Absolutely. And you hear it in a second, because Laibel is meant at this point in time to solve a serious problem, right? ENAV has the ability to showcase the business perfectly as it is, meaning it's not going to be able to get the results Laibel's doing. It's not meant to solve a problem. It's just is a recipe how to show a company. You have an ABA company, you have a dentist office, you have a construction company, anything that just needs to be able to show it in a perfect, genuine way. That's where this thing goes. So I tell people all the time, you may want to invest. Some people say, but I like the Laibel thing, but you don't need the Laibel thing. I'll come hang out with you in the office. I got no issue, but it's not, I'm so excited. I'm sure you felt this way about things that you do. I'm so excited about the things that we're doing. I feel like, I don't know if it's I always make a joke, it's like a passion thing. Again, Laibel allows me to do my passion. My challenge was I needed to be able to find a sustainable piece as well. So that's where this is the dream that I'm working on, to be able to, my goal is to let everyone needs a video really, really fly and build a system that works and go really national, and allow Laibel to be my passion. It's the stuff that lights my fire. It's the stuff that gets me, but the problem is if you do this only, then responsibly, it's not the right move, because you know what I mean? It's not that's the idea.
Let me ask you, there's a line that I use a lot in the marketing world. We need to use it a lot, that creatives usually overthink a situation or over create or so on and so forth that we discussed before. And obviously, since COVID, there's this huge movement on agility. Every business, if you want to grow, you need to be agile, move out products, and so on and so forth. At COVID, you saw companies that usually this decision would take like 5 years to do, and all of a sudden, in 3 weeks, they had a website up, and they had they had e-commerce, whatever it is, for a legacy retailer. I guess my question to you is, you mentioned your process, which is good. How do you know, am I overcomplicating the process and getting every system and process in place? Or could I have been in the market 3 months earlier? How do you, people listening to this, how would you answer that question?
So I have a very, very, very unique way of doing things, which is, I think, contrary to, what's probably smart. It works for me, but I don't recommend it to everybody. I've always done things silently and built what I want very silently. And then when I'm ready to take over, we take over the world. So therefore, I'll give you an example. I have a rule. We do the first 3 for free. No matter what I've done, I've always done the first 3 for free. Our first 3 weddings were for free. How did you ever have a way to show a bridal portrait without having a bridal portrait? How do you do that? Well, how's the first person that I took my cousin, we bought a dress on Etsy for $80. We went to, again, this is all my wife's credit. I should say we, because it totally wasn't me. I was sitting coil. We went to Flowers to Go or whatever, and we said, we'll do a portrait. I'll give you the portraits from the thing. And we put together a beautiful bridal shoot the way that we would want to shoot it. So when people saw it, they say, this is gorgeous. This was a wedding? Because I know. This was my cousin, but this is my dream. This is what it's supposed to look like. And I did that 3 times. And I think our first wedding might have been for free. Then headshots. Do you understand, Manny? When I was starting headshots, I went for 2 years, every single Wednesday into the city, rented a studio and gave free headshots to everyone and their mother in order to build my skill sets. Everyone. And that was probably, I thought about it, it's probably a $50,000 investment over 2 years. And I was funding it through my other work. But when we came out, we took over the whole thing. When I was doing video, when I sat with Avrami Brown, when I sat with Mint Capital, and I did our first videos, all for free. I want to build a perfect product. Once I charge you $10, you have a say. I don't want you to have a say. I want to do it exactly my way. Build a perfect portfolio. And then when you come out retail. This is what we do. So therefore, I've been working on a project right now for a year, 1 full year. We've done 16 full showcase videos. No one has seen a thing. 0. Work in silence, take over the world.
Another thing you mentioned before, and I think I've seen it, speak a lot on LinkedIn about it in the past, is you're, I guess, a strong believer in mentorship or partnership, in order to know your zone and ultimately surround yourself with people around you. What can you share on that topic?
I have been blessed, and you probably had a similar experience. I hang way above my pay grade. Since I have a solution for people running wildly successful companies, I have conversations I shouldn't have. Like, I'm a photographer, for God's sake. You know what I mean? So I get to see people doing wild things and solving problems on levels that I didn't even know existed. When I walk into a company often, I say, guys, you have to let me know what's happening in the company. You have to educate me about, like, I have a client now that needs to get a Chinese investors. I have the foggiest ideas about Chinese investors, but if you tell me everything they need to hear, I'll be able to pull that out in a genuine way. So therefore, what happened was I started spending time with people and learning what was possible. I didn't know these things were possible. I'm a photographer, for goodness sake. So what I do is I connect with my guys. I hear what it is they need, and I learn from them. So much so, many that about 3 years ago, I took 8 of my guys out of the country. These are CEOs from different industries that were far, far, far. No one knew each other. And I said, guys, I want to learn from you. I don't know, I want to learn from you. So I'm taking you out of the country for 3 days, and we're going to learn together. And I'm just going to sit and watch, and we're going to learn together. And basically what happened was we took CEOs of 8 very different industries. We got together, and everyone's world was rocked. Everyone, learned new perspectives. Again, there was someone that owned many CPA firms, was helping everyone, with questions with CPA stuff. And there was a developer that was helping on, structures. And there was David Banuna was there, and he was helping on the business side. And I don't know what we were doing there, but we were just having fun. You know what I mean? And what I did was I started learning from people that, I have a skill set, and I don't have many talents, but I have a few very, very strong ones. So if I can take my skill sets, insert them, and have other people, and bring them to the masses, I don't think anything's more powerful, and I don't know, what do I know about business? I just know about connecting human beings and be able to show that to the world. So therefore, what I've been doing recently is partnering with people that are talented in those spaces and allowing us to do things that I could have never dreamed before, because I didn't even know those things existed.
There's something that I've realized a long time ago, which is broken in humanity, so to speak, is like you grow up as a young kid, and it's very easy for people to point out where the skills you're lacking. Yeah. the skills you're lacking. Okay, obviously it's obviously should be easier to find where you're actually accelerating, but usually your teachers, your mother, your parents, everybody will say these are the places where you gotta be better, yeah, improve. As you get older, especially in business, it's not necessarily the best use of your time to only work on the places where your weakness to try to up your game there, because chances are you can't, or you can't at least be amazing at it. But you could surround yourself with people that have, are good at those things and be the best on the places where you excel, and ultimately use that talent to conquer the world.
And the thing that's so powerful about it is, since you're not good at it, you appreciate them so much for doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you appreciate them so much for doing it. And the weird part is, people that are good at something, they think it's easy. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, I would spend my whole life justing and it wouldn't work. This thing I feel is the most powerful thing. And what you just said it hit me so hard. It gave me goosebumps, because I was at Mint Capital. I am very, very close to them.
Great people.
Unbelievable. And we actually went with them on one of their trips, and someone was very close to one of their loan officers came up to me. I needed contact solution or something. It was like very late, and I was trying to go to bed. It was like 11 o'clock. And he said he had it. So I was like very close to him. And so I said, can I borrow it? Fine. So he came out of, all right. So he gives me the contact solution. He says, but he's holding it, so I don't have it yet, and I need it. He's like, Laibel, can I ask you a question? I was like, sure. He's like, it's going to be a little uncomfortable. And like, I just want the contact solution. I go to bed. So I was like, that's okay. Like, what's up? He says, I've seen you do your thing for the last 2 or 3 years. And you're always complimenting people and telling people how wonderful they are. He says, now when you tell me something nice, I don't listen anymore. Because you're not just doing it to me. You do this to everyone. It doesn't mean anything. So I said, let's make up his name as Moshe. I said, Moshe. I said, can I tell you something really interesting? It's very interesting what you're saying. I said exactly what you said, Manny. I said, the world is everyone is very used to telling us where we don't shine. And those things are very true. Those things are so true. But you've heard enough of that. You got that everywhere. I'm just telling you the part that no one tells you, which is a few nice things. But those are true too. So is it true that I tell everyone these wonderful things about themselves? Yes. But everybody else is so busy telling them where they're not good. I'm just telling the little things that are also true, but they just don't get to hear as often as they should.
So powerful, so powerful. And not only that, is if you focus on your strengths, you have so much capabilities, which I think what shines through the videos that you produce is bringing out the best of people, because everybody has a story. You say everybody needs a video. I tell you, everybody has a story. And I'm sitting in my office, and I meet a lot with people, business related, and then I have this. If it's in a calm moment, and after an entrepreneur has gone through their business story, I'll always at the end ask, and how's your personal life? And moment of silence. And then they open up. It doesn't take a lot. And the person shares a whole life story. And everybody has their version of their story. And no two stories are alike. I think that's the power of a label, because that's what you bring out of people on any given time.
And that's the thing people relate to. That's the thing. That is the thing that people relate to. My mother taught me that very young. And it's funny because I'm teaching my children now. Is one of the ways to relate to someone is to be vulnerable, right? Because everyone's used to these like walls, right? Now, again, you have to do it with seichel, and you have to know exactly where and how. But I've spent my last year in healthcare, right? And I always swore I'd stay so far from it. My mother was a nurse. I grew up on the floors of a VA. This is my world. These women, these people are angels. They're actual angels. My mother's the type of nurse that sees someone in the grocery store and will say, hey, you have edema in your ankle, so you should probably go get that checked out. Like this type of nurse, you know what I mean? Like, they don't make them. They do make them. I didn't think they used to make them. Now I saw that they still make, God's still making these type of people. But I always thought, like, like, it's not a spreadsheet business to me. It's not like, oh, you give me one home so I can, if I lose money on one home, like now I can lose money on 40 homes like that. Like, is this what I need in my life? And I found a company that's really human connected and really, really whatever. And I said, I'll try one, but I'm very reluctant. And I fell in love. And every time we start one of these projects, a lot of them in Florida. I get the whole staff together in the beginning of the morning. Everyone's like, whatever. We actually bring them donuts. We bring them whatever. And I say, guys, I just want to say thank you. And you hear everyone like, what's he doing? Is this a pitch? Is it this? Whatever. And I say, my mother was a nurse since the Vietnam War. And I grew up on the floors of a VA. And I saw today's heroes taking care of yesterday's heroes. And I just want to thank you. I said, the world, I don't think has the right narrative for what's going on with you guys. And if they would just come to see what you guys do on a daily basis, the world would be a very different place. I personally just want to thank you. Everything changes. Everything changes, right? Vulnerable. Tell you about my mother, tell you about my experience, tell you a little bit about my thoughts that maybe are, whatever. And all of a sudden, we're humans. We're humans that I was a little kid walking the floors of a nursing home. All of a sudden, we relate different. And we could all relate. We don't, because, it's you and me, and if I take, you can't have, if you take, I can't have. But when you realize that's not the case, if I can really, really, really help you, then I'll always have what to do. If I'm in it for me, so I'm only there for as long as I can, can get it up. If I can really be in it for you, then I'll always have something to do. And people feel that.
So let me ask you the follow-up question to that is, what is most rewarding projects or moments you had, being in those environments?
It's weird, Manny, when I tell you, it's a daily occurrence that I'm crying and whoever I'm talking to is crying as well. And we play in every industry, every single industry. Nursing home is obviously the easiest because they're like literally angels, doing wild things. And again, this is meant to be a profitable venture. My guys are making a lot of money with the work that we're doing, like wild numbers. And at the end of the day, it still helps the spreadsheet. But the way to do the spreadsheet helping is through genuine experience. But any industry, and the funny part is that we're doing real estate. We just did this wild piece on Pier Village, which is that whole strip of the Wave Hotel and this really 500 units that they're trying to build for all year use. That's why they built this entire process. So therefore, we had to do for investors. We had to create for the hotel. We had to create for the, for people to come for attractions. But really, the whole thing is meant to fill up this 500 units. But when you talk to the people that are building, you talk to Mrs. Myers, talk to the Kushners. This was their dream. This is where they grew up. And like you said, it's all business. But at the end of the day, when you strip the whole thing, this is a young girl that grew up in a place that she loves, and now she's developing it. You know what I mean? It's a whole different story. You know what I mean? It's a whole different experience. So yeah, we got emotional on real estate, and we do it with startups, and we do it because when you really strip away everything and you get to that point, I don't think we're used to it. Even me talking to you, you've done a great job of sometimes I forget, I forgot that I'm on, doing this thing. And then I see and then I got nervous again. But you got me to a place where I was like totally in my zone. And when you get there, you're free. And the cool part is that when you get there, you're free, but then it's recorded. So now what's happening is you have a recording of a totally genuine human being, obviously, or a whole entire team. And then when it's put together with brilliance from Avram Nassan, what happens is when someone's watching it, they're connecting to a totally connected human person in their place of passion.
So interesting. We just finished a video of one of our real estate projects in Israel that we worked on, which is Tzfas, a project in Tzfas. And it's somebody it's a piece that almost gets you immersed in the Tzfas energy. A guy told me just yesterday, he came over to me and says, I don't have money, nor do I think I'm ever have money to buy a house locally, for sure not in Tzfas. But I feel like like I'm following the campaign, I'm following the video. I feel like I belong there. Like I'm connected to that, what you're showing. And that's a good video that you bring out, what's really there in a, like I said, unfiltered way. And then you put it together with the proper editing in order to keep the person watching it engaged is so amazing. And it's an art. It's an art to be able to bring out the best of people and bring out the best of, those stories, those untold stories, as we call it.
And when you do it the right way, like you did, the right person, that person may not have the abilities right now, but when the right person connects to it, it's not a sale. I'm not selling anyone anything. It's just an opportunity that I'm like, it's not a sale. Like, it's not a sale. You work with any great, right? I'm not selling you something. This is your home. You just need to I'm just a vehicle to get you to where you got to go.
Exactly. So Leibel, how could people get in touch with you? Like, what are the different places?
So we spend, obviously you can go through the site, laibel.com. Obviously there's everyoneneedsavideo.com, which is its own thing. Spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. I feel like that's my one social that I actually kind of, am there personally. We're on all the other platforms as well, but that's, more of our teams creating. I feel like LinkedIn's a place where I can feel comfortable, kind of manage my own stuff. And that's where we hang. Obviously, I live my own little bubble, and people ask me all the time, do you know this person? Anyone I'm spending my world with, they're like my world. Anyone else, I really don't know many. But I'm excited about getting out there. That's why I wanted to come to the podcast. Finally, like getting out there.
For the links resource mentioned in this episode, check out the show notes at www.ptexgroup.com/podcast. We will link to the LinkedIn and to the websites you mentioned. Let's close with the 4 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Bring it on.
Number 1, a book that changed your life. Great book. It was actually the first episode of this podcast was with Michael Gerber.
Wow.
Great guy. Number 2, a piece of advice you got that you'll never forget.
I was born with one ear, yeah. My mother's a nurse, yeah. My mother told me, she said, everyone's got something. Some things you can see, some things you can't see, but everyone has got something.
Wow. Number 3, anything you wish you could go back and do differently?
I always want to be a better person. But I always feel that yesterday it's only relevant for how it affects tomorrow. So I'm hoping, there are things I'd like to do better as a human being. And I hope that'll affect tomorrow.
And last and final question, what's still on your bucket list to achieve?
It's really interesting because, I'd like to go back to Kyle. That's where I want to be.
Maybe I'll join you at the Charusa.
Bring it on, Manny, bring it on. But it's interesting. I made a joke to my team recently. I said the projects we're working on are with companies I could have never dreamed of. If you would have asked me a year and a half ago what my bucket list, I would say these names. But I'm working with those names and with those projects and the type of projects that I was dreaming of. So I actually don't know what's next. So I'm like a little bit like I'm in a weird situation because we always do the progression thing. And then but now I'm standing there, but I know I need to go to the next thing. I'm a little curious where that is. So I need to start writing the bucket list again.
Leibel, thank you so much for joining us. I know your time is valuable. That is why in the name of our listeners, we'll forever be grateful for sharing some of your time with us today. It's been a blast.
Thank you so much, man. It means the world to me. I'm sorry I didn't come on earlier, but I'm happy that we had it today.
Thank you. That's my conversation with Laibel Schwartz. My takeaway from this one, number 1, Leibel emphasizes the balance between technical skills and emotional connection in his photography business. He maintains humility in his personal life while being outgoing professionally, which helps him connect deeply with clients and offer a personalized experience. Number 2, Leibel highlights the necessity of genuine business representation to prevent customer disappointment. He advocates for traditional photography over Photoshop to preserve authenticity in health shots. This belief centers on the idea that authenticity builds trust and connection with clients, fostering a long-term relationship instead of short-term misrepresentation. Number 3, Laibel emphasizes the impact of gratitude and personal stories on workplace dynamics, especially in healthcare projects. His approach highlights the importance of storytelling and emotional engagement to strengthen connections among employees and clients. Number 4, he highlights how storytelling enhances real estate projects by fostering emotional connections rather than transactions. And number 5, he highlights the society focus on weaknesses over strengths and recommends surrounding oneself with those who have complementary strengths. Laibel also notes that valuing other skills and giving compliments can enhance positivity, emphasizing the importance of recognizing individual strengths. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Let's Look Business podcast. I hope you enjoyed the practical, no-nonsense advice that our guest shared. If you found value in listening, I would be so grateful if you could share the episode with your friends, and if you could give the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever platform you listen. Subscribe to the show and get notified every time we publish a new episode. The Let's Look Business podcast is a PTEX Group original production. Until next time, make it a great day.